From the Dignity Health Studio at the Bakersfield Californian, this is the Renegade Report with Greg Kerr. Now, here's Greg Kerr.
Hey, welcome once again to the Renegade Report. I am Greg Kerr, and we are going to take you around the BC campus to talk all things sports with the Renegades. It has been a busy week on the field for many of the sports teams. First of all, we'd like to thank our main boss, Louis Amestoy. Also, Chris McCullough, he pushes the buttons, he gets the tapes in. Sometimes we hand him stuff the last second, and Chris still gets everything on, so we greatly appreciate that. And Francis Mayer, who gives me stats, opinions, ideas. So many I've got them coming out of my head, but he does a great job making sure that we even get our interviews in, including a couple guys who are with me right now. But before we get to that, later in the show, head coach Jeff Chudy is going to talk about the Renegades conference opening game at Allen Hancock, where the wind was blowing like 30 miles an hour. It was crazy. And also Jeremy Stott's going to be in, former BC Renegade, who of course went on to have a great career in the NFL and of course U.S. Marine as well. Right now we are happy to be joined by a couple of guys though that we're going to talk to here in the first segment. They are Scott Dameron. He's the head coach for the women's soccer team, off to a great start. And also Cesar Luna, a wrestler for the Cal State wrestling team. And while the wrestling team, you look at the record and you say, well, maybe they're not doing very well, but they're forfeiting it a couple weights each time. That sort of skews the record a little bit. But Cesar Luna has been off to a great start. So we'll talk to Cesar in a moment first. But we're going to start off with Scott Dameron and talk some soccer. And Coach, first of all, 5-1-1 start. You got to be pretty happy with that right out of the gate.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we're excited about how it starts. As a coach, though, we don't ever let them be satisfied, so it's tricky.
And having said that, your conference opener, you really think about, well, non-conference, they all count to a certain degree. Conference is where you talk about championships and things of that nature, and you come up with a 1-0 win yesterday over Glendale. Talk about that.
Our conference is very competitive. There's no walkover games. There's no easy days. There's no days off. And so anytime you can go away and get a win away, that's important.
And Danielle Vargas in her first start gets the goal early in this one. Talk a little bit about the mindset in soccer sometimes, because usually it's not a high-scoring sport, that when you get a 1-0 goal, sometimes you can think, okay, this is going to be it. It's like in baseball, a 5-run first inning, we got this made, and then suddenly the final score is 5-4. So what about an early goal and what that can do?
It goes two ways. You can either pour it on. We have a lot of freshmen this year. We're real freshman heavy, and sometimes we make freshman mistakes, but I love their enthusiasm. But we did a little bit of that game. We kind of eased off the gas a little bit. They were able to recover, though, and pick it up, and they played some good soccer on the day.
The high water mark of your season so far, knocking off Feather River. Talk about that victory.
That was probably our most complete game. They had a pretty couple special players on their team, and I was impressed with our team's ability to deal with it. They had some players that were just faster than anybody else that we had.
Right.
But they were just able to play really well as a group.
And when you say special players, did they have a player that's like
one of them had just played in the U20 World Cup.
Okay, right.
And so she was a handful for everybody she plays against. But that's what I was pleased with our girls. You don't completely remove somebody like that from a game, but they just kind of defense by committee kind of just figured out a way to work together to shut her down. Yeah. So it was good.
Now your one loss was, got to be honest, a lopsided loss. But
tough.
Probably the tie was the thing that bugged you the most, maybe. West Hills, yeah?
That's a result we let slip away.
Yeah.
And I think that was something we were fighting early in the season, was a little bit of inconsistency. We'd have a game like Feather River where we really put everything together, and then we'd have some days where the energy level was a little bit inconsistent. But I think that's why you play preseason games, to kind of learn about yourself, and figure out what your weaknesses are. And so they're starting to put it together.
What's your approach? I ask soccer coaches this all the time, because even though I grew up with soccer, watching it, never really played it at any level that was significant. So, as an American guy who watches sports, and we love scoring, right? We love scoring in any sport. We want it to be 15-13. So when you look at soccer and your approach offensively, I think sometimes I've seen teams here locally, high school and college, and I go, just kick the ball at the net. I see sometimes people who are 15 yards out who pass it to someone who's 12 yards out, who passes someone who's 8 yards out, but it never gets a shot on goal. It's just, to me, sometimes overpassing, but I'm just the numbskull with the camera watching it. So what's your approach in terms of shots on goals and passing and teamwork and just really a good offensive attack?
I think what we've been trying to work on over the last few weeks is just trying to be disciplined and staying within our style of play. We try to play into our feet as much as possible, but we've also got some kids that can hit from 30 or 40, and so I'm not afraid to let them have a go from wherever they want to have a go. If nothing else, it brings people out to come out and play, and you soften them up, and then you find other ways to beat them. But I'll just say we're always just looking to be opportunistic. If it's there, it's there.
Yeah. How? I know you're not a stat guy. We talked about that before the show, but do you generally get outshot? Do they outshoot you? What has it been for you?
I mean, we've been doing pretty well in the shot category as far as creating them. I think what we've just been trying to do is just make sure that if you're going to take shots, that they're high percentage shots, shots that actually have a chance of doing something rather than just floating things into a keeper that are easy to save. Yeah, it's just a matter of staying within what we do. Sometimes we get impatient and we rush a little bit, but that's part of their maturing process.
All right, I'm not a genius, but I know if the other team doesn't score, you have a good chance of winning. So what about defense? What's your philosophy there?
I think everything we do is based around the way we defend. I love that side of the ball. I've always been a big believer that if you're defensively organized, everything else just kind of works. Mm-hmm. After that, everything else just kind of makes sense once you're
including transition to offense.
Yeah, you're a better attacking team when you're organized defensively, just because everybody's where they should be. And we've been really fortunate with our two center backs this year. They're both freshmen, but they're both redshirt freshmen, and so they've still been around a little bit more experienced. And that's what we tell them. They run the show. They're kind of in charge of everything, and they do a great job of kind of dictating what the team does.
Is there a so-called leader on your team? You say you got a lot of freshmen, but is there anybody sort of leading the way here?
Well, we've got 4 sophomores. 3 of them are our captains this year.
Okay.
One, her name's Tina LaFour. Erin Morales is a right back for us, and so she's another one of our defenders, very experienced. Another one, her name is Jennifer Lopez. Tina and Jennifer both play in our center midfield, and they're all 3 of them are just really composed. And it's even though it's only 1 year's difference, they have a little bit of an idea of what to expect because they've been through the grind of the physical grind of going through a conference season and competing with everybody, and so they're the ones that are just kind of warning people that you just need to keep working, you need to push, you can't rest right now. They're doing a great job of pushing their team.
All right, so let's look on the horizon before we let you go, Coach. I know you're on the road at West LA. Thoughts on that, real quick?
I think it's just kind of stay the course. As I look through our conference schedule, like I said, it's very deep, and our conference is actually loaded with a lot of really good teams. And it seems like every game that we play, the next team we play is tougher than the last team we played. And so I think that's really going to be the challenge for us, is just how do we get better than the last game every game.
Okay, and I know coaches hate to look ahead, but I'm going to ask you to do that because you have 2 home matches next week, Antelope Valley and Canyon. So can you just talk about, first of all, playing at home? You know where the field is, right? Because you haven't played.
Our players have heard that we have a home field, but they haven't been on it yet. Yeah, it's been a challenge to be on the road for our first, I guess would be 8 games.
Right.
But in a way, it's been really good for us team building wise, just because. A lot of time spent on the buses and on the road gives them a lot of time to kind of get to know each other and
bonding.
So that kind of speeds that up a little bit. So it's been good.
So again, the matches next week. Anything specific about Antelope Valley or Canyons? Anything?
Well, Canyons is the team. They're the defending league champs, so obviously you always look forward to that one. Mm-hmm. But we don't want to trip up in the meantime while we're looking to games that we're not playing. So I think we're just worried about Friday right now.
The old thing: don't let a team beat you twice. Lose to West LA, and then suddenly. It was because you were looking ahead.
Yeah. So we're. All
right. Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. We're going to, in a moment here, we're going to talk a little wrestling right now as we will talk about what the Renegades have done. Brett Clark, of course, has done a great job coming back to campus and getting these guys going, and we are happy to have Cesar Luna on board with us. We introduced him moments ago, but now Cesar wrestling at 184 pounds. But we were talking outside. You're already telling me you're dropping weight already. What's going on there?
Yes, I'm going down to 174s. I'm actually started pretty light coming into 84s. It's only because of the weight cert. There's hydrations in the beginning of the season, and they just told me I couldn't cut down to 74s until 2 weeks, so I had to stick with 84s. But in the meanwhile, I kept cutting down anyways. I was weighing in like 180 before. and everything.
All right, now the Renegades, I tell you, the one thing that they have done, you look at their team scores and you say, well, they haven't been very successful. The bottom line has been that you guys have been giving up some forfeits, I think, at 33 and 41, correct?
Yes,
So that's a lot of points right there.
That's-
It's not just a swing one way, it goes both ways with the swing. It's like a 24-point swing, really 12 each way. So having said that, what do you think of the performance of the guys that have actually gotten on the mat this year?
I see a lot of potential, really. I see a lot of guys working hard, going in, really just going and dang it.
It's all right. Just plugging away.
Yeah. And then, like I said, a lot of potential for them. And I see really just everyone just like buying in to the technique that the coaches are really getting into. Just what they're teaching us, I see them just slowly. It's not progressing a whole lot faster than the coaches would expect, but slowly, just throwing that elbow pass, going for the double post, everything. Just I see that with all the teammates. I see.
Well, you're certainly buying in. You had a great performance. You win all 3 of your matches here at the Gil Bishop Sports Complex when it came to this past weekend at the duel here at home. 11-3, you win by a major, then you win by a fall, and then you win 11-7. So you were 3-0. Murphy was 3-0.
Yes.
So right there at the tail end, right there in the heavier weights, you guys are really taking care of some business.
Yes.
What about as far as your story a little bit? Because you wrestled, the first year, like you said, maybe a little bit of a disappointment here and there, and then you went into the Marines. Tell us a little bit about how that all came about.
Well, 2012, fall, my first year. Went to state, went 0-2. Realized I needed to do something a little bit more effort to actually come out and actually be placed in state. That following spring, took a load of classes, ended up failing a couple here and there, almost half. And then next thing you know, a good friend of mine, Leonard Hong, from back in high school, he came home from 29 Palms, 30 days of recruiting assistance, and he was just telling me about it here and there. And then I was like, nah, it's not for me. And then one day he just ended up taking me to the recruiting station just to drop me off there and then go get something. And we're going to go get Chipotle right after.
Right.
And then just the recruiters talking to me and then telling me the opportunities and stuff like that. And then they told me about the reserves, about that. They kind of were like, oh, no, you should go active. But I kind of like the reserves better. I like that I get to come back, go to school, wrestle, work, like that, help my mom out and stuff like that. And then that's when I was like, you know what? I think this is for me. And I'm always trying to challenge myself here and there. So.
And on the horizon, you've got what coming up? You go to 29 Palms when? How soon?
I believe in the middle of the month of October. I think on the 16th, I believe I was told.
And
on
that'll
the Thursday.
prepare you for the summer?
Yeah.
What happens in the summer?
In the summer, we go for 2 weeks out of the summer, and that's just preparing us for real live training in there. And then there's real ammo going off and everything over in 29 Palms. But I think this summer that's coming up, we're gonna go to Camp Pendleton over there, and we're gonna go for 2 weeks.
I've been there.
Gonna be on the field
I've been to Camp
and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let me tell you before we wrap this up is that, first of all, you told me you lost about 11 pounds in one day, which just drives me nuts here.
It's all
Someone who's
food.
trying to. Yeah, I know. But what are your goals this season? Because like you said, it's sort of stuck with you. You went 0-2 at state. What are your goals this year for you?
Really to prove to myself that, hey, you're not an 0-2 state qualifier. You're out there sweating, bleeding, everything. Actually, I have some cuts on my hands and such. Just really, I believe that I'm better than what I did that fall of 2012.
All right.
And I just hope to do better than that. May it be just 1-2. May it be first place.
Shoot for the moon, man. Shoot
Yes.
for the moon. All right. Well, best of luck to you, Caesar.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to BC football coach Jeff Chudy. See you in a moment.